Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Night Owls. I'm Tom, and I'm joined by my friend David. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, thanks.
To kick off this episode, we actually have a bit of a throwback to last time because I realised I was maybe a little bit vague. We've had some listener complaints that they wanted a little bit more information because I said that a very excitable young man from Australia reacted to my video and they wanted to know a little bit more about exactly what he said and how I felt about it, which is totally fair enough. So we're going to cover a little bit more of that. Then I think we have a little bit of education from Dave now that you've been doing this course for a while that you mentioned in some previous episodes. And we're going to talk about our strengths that we're learning about in the YouTube game, what makes us especially good at it.
Sounds good.
All right. So the reason we were laughing at the start of recording this is that I just quoted this Australian guy because I actually had to go back and watch it. I hadn't seen this video for like 3 years, but this time I'm actually going to link to it in the notes. Seeing as I mentioned it was kind of a significant thing in like my YouTube career, I would guess, being reacted to by this guy who has like 1 million Twitch followers. I've actually dug it up now. We're actually going to link to it in the notes. So everybody who said that they wanted a bit more information, leave me alone. I've given it to you now. But it's essentially this guy who was streaming Call of Duty, which I actually forgot. He was streaming video games, right? Just your normal 20-something video game streamer. And then in the stream, it cuts to him going on YouTube, seeing my thumbnail for my New York to LA video, which is like 45 minutes long, and just going, chat, is this hard? Americans, like New York to LA by train, is that hard? And then he clicks on it and him and his chat watch this entire video. And obviously because he's reacting to it, it takes like over an hour. And I find that particularly like remarkable, the fact that some kind of short attention span video game stream then watched my entire like Frank Sinatra and chill train video for like an hour. What do you think?
And so I think we kind of touched on this in the last episode, but just talk us through. So you came across this. Did you watch the whole reaction?
No, so you get shown in YouTube someone who's used your material. So because I own that video, obviously I don't own the music, that's a technicality. But anyway, in theory, I own that video because I shot it and I uploaded it. And YouTube scans everybody else's videos to see if they include your videos. And you can, in theory, do like a strike, say, hey, you're not allowed to use this. So I imagine for big channels, this is coming up all the time. But I just have this one in my account that it's noticed, hey, someone used your video, like, are you okay with it? And I haven't taken it down because he was so nice. And I didn't even message him or anything. I really should have done. But it's like an 8-hour stream and he's playing video games. And at one point he just takes a break to watch my entire video. And it's so nice because I just skipped to the end of it when I showed you. And looking in his eyes as the end scene is playing in LA with the Beach Boys, the emotion in his eyes, I was so proud. It made me really what's the word, it's like that video was like my baby, more than anything I've ever made probably in my life. That video was like my baby. It was such a huge undertaking to the point that I still can't really believe that I did it. And to see the look in his eyes listening to like that Beach Boy song and watching me in LA and knowing that the video was ending and it was the credit scene, like he looked like he'd been through the entire thing with me. And that's, it's crazy to even have an audience. Like there's a human out there who watched what you made, but to have an audience that you can see has gone on the exact emotional journey that you painstakingly crafted the video to take them on. What a privilege. Like it's insane to be able to notice that.
It's easy to forget when you see the numbers that they're real people watching.
Yeah.
And I think often as well, the people that enjoy it the most don't always comment. They're like, oh, that was a great video. And then they just move on. So to see someone firsthand really enjoying that is quite special, I suppose.
To literally have a live stream of like someone's eyes as they watch it. And excuse me, I think there is a point where he stops the video for a minute to roast me. That's totally fine. It's open season on roasts from nice people. I don't take it personally. And he does seem to be quite nice. I think it's just Australians, they don't know any better. They're not getting us cancelled within the first 5 minutes. But at the end, it's so nice where he, and this is the bit that I do remember, when Simon and Garfunkel is playing at the end and it says thanks for watching at the end and he stands up. I literally got a standing ovation off a Twitch streamer. I don't know when that has ever happened in world history. Harry Kane gets standing ovations and stuff when he gets subbed off. But Twitch streamers, I don't think they really give standing ovations. And he stands up and he claps, and you can watch this in the link that we'll put in the description this time. He stands up and he claps, and he's like, people need to subscribe. And I've censored myself because obviously he's Australian, so there was some foul language in there. And he basically says, that was the best video I've seen in a long time, and I watch a lot of YouTube. And I remember hearing that for the first time and thinking, damn, all of my effort, like everything that I put in to make this video that I was dreaming of making, like it was all worth it to hear that. Even from a stranger, it was so nice.
The crazy thing is about that video, so that kind of all happened before...
Yeah. Before I was big deal on the internet game.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
So I was going to say, you had posted a little bit before, almost just like a hobby, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
And I think I had started uploading at that time, but again, like really just learning the ropes and that kind of thing. So this video, not only did it blow up out of nowhere, but it was made with no intention for it to reward you in any way.
Not at all. Otherwise I wouldn't have put all this copyright music in
exactly.
it, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was literally a passion project, like in the most pure like sense. I mean, it's lockdown and nothing matters nihilism sense. I just wanted it to be as good as it possibly could be.
Did you go on the trip? So what came first? Wanting to go on the trip and there happened to be a video, or you wanted to make the video and so you had to do the trip?
I wanted to go on the trip and then it became a video. And my light has changed completely. I don't know what's going on if you're watching on YouTube. Anyway, I'll tell you exactly what it was that spurred me on to make that video, though, because I wanted to do that trip. And I'd always wanted to go to the States and see, especially like a couple of like less visited states. That was like my sort of dream. But Craig Adams had just released
get the bingo card out.
40-minute video from Japan. So I was in, funnily enough, Australia. And I'd shot quite a lot of stuff in Asia. And I watched Craig Adams' Japan video, and it was like that moment where I was like, I just have to rip everything up. This is no good compared to this. Like, I saw his Asia video and I was like, oh my God. It was like a 40-minute trip around Japan, and it was so good. I was like so inspired. I was like, I have to do something this good. And I think that's also hit 1 million, same as mine. But it lit this fire under me. I was like, okay, next long trip I go on, I'm not just going to make videos from it. I'm going to actually make something good. So it was like a travel plan, and also like I was filling the artistic void, I think, trying to be UK Craig. I
was a guest on a podcast last week, which isn't out yet, so I won't share
Stick the knife in.
But when it comes out, I'll share it. And
and they asked you about your talented friend who made a great USA video. I imagine that's what the whole interview was about, to be honest.
Unfortunately not. But he did ask me about sort of inspiration and, you know, where do you sort of get this, where do you get ideas from? And I kind of put it in a way that you just said with Craig Adams, which is I think you just find something that makes you think, I could do that.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's all it is. And it's almost like sort of stealing the energy from it. You're not actually stealing the idea, but you're like, that energy, okay, he's finished with that now. Now I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely. I think...
Yeah,
isn't that like directly something that happens in the music world? Like Bob Dylan writes a song and then for like 50 years, different people do different versions of it, and they're sort of like stewards of the original idea throughout their different covers.
I think that definitely does happen, and it happens where they don't sort of take the energy or whatever you want to call it, but they actually just take the kind of thing that he's done. But it's a great feeling when you see really something, and I've had this where you see a video and you're like, that's it, that works, that is great, and then you're like, I'll have that.
Yeah. And I think that's like one of the reasons that I'm really happy that we do this and that we have the weird sort of similar but different brains, is that we both find some kind of weird joy in creating stuff. and having that sort of spirit and overcoming these hurdles, because I know that there's people who listen who don't have and will never have YouTube channels, but also feel that in themselves. And a couple of people have messaged me about things that we've said on the podcast. They're like, oh yeah, I don't do video, but like I do a completely different medium, and I resonated with that really strongly. And that always makes me really happy that we can sort of share those moments. And yeah, I think you do need something to light a fire under you. Like I can't remember what way around it was, but it was like Bob Dylan again, Craig Adams 1, Bob Dylan 2. But when Blonde on Blonde came out, apparently the Beatles heard it and they were like freaking out that Revolver was like nowhere near as good. Or is it Pet Sounds? There's like a story like that something scared the Beatles into being better.
I think there was that thing. So Rubber Soul came out, and then Brian Wilson was like, I'm never going to do anything as good as that. And then he did Pet Sounds, and then
yeah, that's it.
Beatles said the same thing, and then
who's Brian and who's Dennis Wilson and who's Ringo Starr? Craig Adams is definitely John Lennon.
Yeah, well, he's the one that got there first out of us three. So
yeah, I would be willing to say that. There's the same with I'm not sure if it's apocryphal, but somebody told me there's the same with the Killers and the Strokes. That there was a Killers album before their debut that has Mr. Brightside on it, and then Brandon heard the first Strokes album, and he essentially deleted the entire thing, and was like, "We're never going to get anywhere with that." And then he wrote what is now actually their debut album that has Mr. Brightside on it, and the rest is history. But apparently everybody was like fuming, and the record label was really mad that he basically got rid of everything they'd done. And he was like, leave it with me. And then he wrote Mr. Brightside, and now they're all like gazillionaires. Because he had the Strokes.
Even it's sort of a two-sided coin, in that you've got that horrible feeling of like, everything I've done up until now is just absolutely worthless compared to this. But you also have that beautiful feeling where it just shows you like how it can be done.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
And because I'm constantly thinking about that with videos. I still feel like like the perfect video I am like nowhere near making.
Right.
But sometimes I'll see a video and I'll be like, okay, that's a step closer to what I know can exist but hasn't existed.
That's true. Are you striving to make the perfect video on your channel?
I wouldn't say the perfect video, but I do think with every revolution of like medium, there are people that do a great job with it. So whether
Absolutely,
that's like with music, you've got classical, jazz, pop music, everything.
Mm-hmm.
You've got YouTube, TV, radio, books. Like whenever that new technology comes along, someone eventually finds a way to just do an amazing job with it.
Yes, kind of like how everybody says Chuck Berry invented rock and roll, but nobody listens to him. They're like, oh, he did some like interesting guitar sounds on his songs, but there's people who then wrote better songs using those techniques.
Yeah. So I like to think that
That was a no. If anybody wants to ever hear a yes that was actually a no, take that MP3 of Dave saying yeah just then. But anyway, carry on.
I think that is true, but okay, the sort of no-ness of it was whether I want to be Chuck Berry or Beatles.
Yeah.
So the Beatles came later, but they sort of perfected the art form of popular music, whereas
yes, Chuck Berry laid the groundwork.
Yeah.
And who's little Richard in all of this?
I don't know how much it does relate to music. I think we think of it a lot in those terms.
I think the thing with it is like when I'm trying to speak to people, especially it's really hard with people who don't have like a creative either job or side gig or hobby or whatever. Like I love speaking to anybody who has a passion for anything. Do you ever meet somebody who doesn't care about anything and you're like, oh my god, how long can I hang out with you? Like we don't have any
Yeah,
like this can't go any further.
When YouTube is my whole self-worth as a person.
Yeah. When they don't really care. But I mean, I don't mind what someone's thing is, but like you got to have a thing. Do you know what I mean? And that's what kids are so good at. Like they'll go through an entire year where their parents are like, oh, all he cares about is like, I don't know, some really weird niche topic, like learning how to fish or like Rubik's cubes or something. And you're like, yes, okay, we have something that we can talk about. But with a lot of adults, I think they're quite ashamed sometimes to have like a passion or a creative like drive inside them. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes people like that can be quite hard to lead a conversation with. But what I meant about that is like, I think music is like the universal analogy. Like if I said to people, you know, Craig Adams released this video about Japan, and I wanted to go and one-up him with a video from the USA. I don't think anybody would really get that. They'd be like, what's a video? Like, you know, I just watch BBC News. You know, what's YouTube? But if I say, you know, however self-aggrandizing it is, be like, imagine you were a musician and you first heard Pet Sounds. Like that must have been a crazy moment to be like, oh my God, like our label is expecting something from us. And the entire audience has spent the last few weeks listening to this, which is like amazing and perfect. People, you either take that as like, I'm no good and you quit, or you go, okay, thank you for bringing me the inspiration to get me to the next level. Now I'm going to make my perfect album. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't think there's anyone really, maybe since Casey, where it's been so creatively pushed forward that like no one else is really keeping up with that. I know like Mr. Beast is there at the moment, and especially with his budget, like no one could keep up with that. But I don't think it's like artistically like groundbreaking stuff. It's just entertainment.
And I think Casey brought YouTube, like, I think the platform owes him a lot as well. Not just getting us more obsessed, but the whole fact that it has gone more mainstream and it's on big screen, like people's TVs and stuff. I do think it's no coincidence that came after him. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Do you ever think about this? So, you know, we compare it a lot to music. And, you know, if you were hypothetically in the future to be like, you are the Chuck Berry of YouTube. Wow, that'd be amazing. But if you were to say like, you are the Jay Leno of YouTube.
What do you mean?
I feel like TV ages so much worse than music. Or like, probably, I don't know, 50 years ago, Bruce Forsyth was like just the greatest thing.
Yeah, that's really true.
On the screen, and yet he's just forgotten by the next generation. But that doesn't happen. He is now.
Rest in peace, big man. Yeah, send one up for Bruce. Send one up. I know what you mean, but TV. I mean, I definitely think that you're right, especially when you do see clips of like old TV. You're like, why would anybody watch this? But I guess the thing is, with music, it's a medium for like re-listening. And with TV, especially back then, if you weren't sat down with the family watching, you would just never see it. So, and you'll never get it again because, I mean, it's either not digitized or the audience who care about it, who were young back then, wouldn't know how to access it if it was digitized. So it's just a different thing. TV, you have to keep like making more to make money, unless you have like Breaking Bad on Netflix, which will just always make money. I guess there's exceptions like that. But, you know, like... whatever, a Beyonce album will just always make money, like even her first ones, and she could quite happily never make anything again and be like one of the most successful careers ever and be remembered forever in the way that like Dick Cavett, you know, he's fallen off a little bit.
Yeah. The key, I think you've come onto something there, which is the repeatability. And stuff
and God
that
knows
sticks
with
around.
my music listening habits, repeatability.
Honestly, I'm on that on repeat playlist all the time.
Yeah, and then it just stays on repeat. Yeah.
But even like the way Shakespeare is still used today, I think there's like some repeatability to his content.
Oh no, don't use the C word. Oh, don't, please. We're better than this. I can't. How good was he at titles and thumbnails? I mean, King Lear. What does that tell me about the plot twists within? The death of Richard V is weirder than you thought. One of them you're not even allowed to say. I mean, how is that for a title? That's crazy.
There is something to that, though. There's the timelessness that...
I really thought you were going to say the titles. Sorry, go on. Timelessness.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, I think we're overthinking just...
anyway, what I'm saying is I'm the Beatles and the Beach Boys and Bob Dylan. It's just I never make any videos, so you'd never notice.
Yeah, you're Brian Wilson after 69 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm Brian Wilson after he's eaten 8 million tabs of acid and can't spell his own name anymore and keeps trying to make pointless albums.
Don't be mean to Brian. He's my dream guest.
Look, we're not going to get into the reasons why that dream isn't coming true now that I've already said that. But me saying such things is the least of the reasons why that's not coming true.
Well, you never know.
I did say that we'd speak a little bit about what you've learned from your course as well. Any bombshells, any tidbits that you can give us? Is it under copyright if you get advice off this genius?
Well, you're not allowed to share anything, so I can't share the lecture, sadly. Otherwise,
fair. Oh, of course, yeah, that's all copyrighted. Anybody who didn't listen to the episode, David's doing a YouTube education program with Paddy Galloway, who's like a consultant on how to get views on YouTube.
Yeah, it has only just started. The first lecture, or whatever you call it, was last night, so we've only done 1 hour. So it still remains to be seen.
I lost my light. Sorry, talk to yourself for a second.
What's going on with that light tonight?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. There is a light and it never goes out. Anyway, go ahead.
So yeah, there isn't sort of much to say at the moment, but I don't know. I don't know if I spoke about this just to you or on the podcast. I'm a bit nervous about what I will get out of it because it's so hard to there's no...
That's the thing, yeah. It's nebulous. Yeah.
Yeah.
You upload a video and it seems like the roulette wheel of the YouTube gods giving it views or not. So who can tell you exactly what you did wrong when you missed and exactly what you did right when you hit?
Well, there is definitely skill and knowledge to it. I don't think... Oh
yeah, I don't mean to talk away anybody's talent when I say roulette wheel, but what I mean is when you take that for granted that someone is good at making videos, there is still an element of they can't guarantee banger after banger after banger. Even with arguably equivalent, they haven't got worse or less talented at making videos, since their last banger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're all still learning, and even Beatles had some naff songs now and then.
Oh, we went 2 minutes.
So yeah, we'll see. But I'm just hoping to get a bit of knowledge that takes me towards that perfect video that we keep speaking about.
Yeah, the best videos are yet to come. But you know what I also wanted to bring in is a topic from your other friend, the YouTube guru. Do you have any guesses as to which one that might be? Yeah,
and okay, so just one quick thing. So I did this other course with Ali, who is who you're probably thinking of. And in a similar kind of way, I can't sort of put into words what I learned.
Okay, but just so for anyone who doesn't know, this is Ali Abdal's, what's it called? Some kind of YouTube
Yeah, it was called
scheme.
Part-Time YouTuber Academy.
Right.
And it was more of a beginner course. It was for beginners, I guess. And I did this a few years ago. And, it was great. I thought Ali was great and the course was great. But it wasn't like you can say, okay, this is what I've learned and this is why it's so great. But that course did get me to do my first like mini documentary kind of thing that I'm doing today. So if it hadn't been for that,
right,
I might not be where I am. And I also met Mithna through that course, who I'm still good friends with. So
definitely, you get different benefits, and I do think doing some kind of actual education in it, the benefit is you're just spending time being occupied with the topic and the material, right? And even like things that I've actually studied, like when I went to uni, there's things that maybe the actual topic I have forgotten or it wasn't that useful, but I think spending time in that world, you're just like laying a stronger foundation in your brain for learning, I think. And you have even things that you are learning at the time, you're like, this isn't a tangible benefit. Sometimes down the road, it's all just sort of laid the groundwork. Spending time with the subject, I think, is
and
not
a lot
not
of it
valuable.
A lot of it feels like instinct. So when I'm trying to think of titles and thumbnails, of course I still get it wrong a lot, but you're just sort of thinking, actually you're not thinking, you're just looking at it and thinking, does that work? Like, does that instinctively make me want to click? Because you can't sort of logic your way into why something works. You just see it and you're like, okay, that's a pretty good title or thumbnail, whatever. So what were you going to say about Ali's course?
I was going to ask just something. The only thing I've ever really seen of him is a video where he was talking, he asked the question, and I wanted to ask it to you. What is your unfair advantage? Do you know this concept that he has when he's teaching?
Yeah.
Have you heard him say that? So I wanted to ask you, and we could do each of us, what is your unfair advantage? And maybe you could explain the concept first.
Well, what do you understand by that? Because I've heard him talk about it quite a lot.
So the thing that stuck with me about it is, it's like, if you're all trying to achieve the same goal, everybody will get there through different means. And what is the one skill that you have, or the one circumstance that you find yourself in, that gives you a competitive advantage against everybody else who's in the same level as you, or who's in the same position in you? And it doesn't have to just be with trying to make a social media career. It can be with absolutely anything. Like, what is your unfair advantage? And I mean, so for a lot of people, I mean, it's in traditional fields, I mean, it would literally be like nepotism, right? If you want to make it into a law firm and you're born the child of a partner at that firm, like, that's an unfair advantage. But I think especially in creative fields, it could be like just something that, you know, you live near a certain place, like what's the guy's name? Wordsworth had plenty of inspiration around him and fresh air and time to enjoy the fresh air because he lived in the Lake District. You couldn't have written those.
That's his unfair advantage.
Yeah, no, it is. You couldn't have written those poems during, you know, the Blitz or whatever, could you? He was just off in the hills with a walking stick thinking about life.
Yeah, although I think that's very much reverse engineered.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, okay. No, go ahead. What do you understand by it?
I think it's a bit different for me and for you, and so there's sort of two categories. There's people that have a hobby or something they're passionate about, and making videos is just an extension of that. So before I did YouTube, I was teaching music, studying music, and like listening to music. So when I started doing videos, I was just extending that into a video format. And the same you were saying with your trip and traveling. But there were some people, especially in Ali's audience, who want to start a YouTube channel. Yeah. And you'd ask them what about, and they'd be like, oh, I don't know yet. I haven't thought of it. And which is kind of, it could be fun. Like, it is good fun making videos. So I'm not saying, you know, there's something weird about that.
I am.
But I think what he's getting at through unfair advantage is saying, okay, you're all just sort of wanting to start a channel for no reason. What makes you, you know, what are you interested in, or what do you know about that separates you from everyone else? So if you, I don't know, you grew up on a farm and you still like to, I don't know, cut the grass or whatever they do.
We come from an island of farmers, man. You can't think of anything better than cutting the grass. That's probably the one thing on the island that the non-farmers do is cut the grass.
Okay, but whatever. That's That's their unfair advantage.
Yeah, got it. Cutting the grass.
What do you think?
No, I'm just making fun. Go ahead with your point.
That is my point.
No, I think that's totally fine. And I think you're being very nice to people who just want to start a channel but don't know what it's about. I've had that conversation with people and I'm always just like, what gives? Like, are you okay? Like, do you want to talk about it? Like, how, if you don't have an actual like driving passion to speak about something and share something, then why go through all of the effort that it is and all of the work if you don't genuinely want to do it? I find that whole thing really weird. That's how people end up just doing like pointless finance and like crypto and like getting up at 5 a.m. daily routine videos because they actually have no interesting thing in their mind that they want to talk about.
Yeah, I think you have to start with if you put it in business terms, you have to start with the product and then try and sell it. Yeah. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to go on Dragon's Den. Oh, what's your thing? Oh, I haven't thought of it yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's stupid, right? It doesn't make sense. But I think so many people just see, YouTube and they see it as like just a job like any other, I guess. Like, I guess if you were a writer, you could be hired to write football articles for the Daily Mail, or maybe one day you'll get hired again to write about the economy for the FT. So if you have that skill, you can just write for whoever's paying the best salary, I guess. But when you're literally running your own publication, you decide if it's football or finance. And if you don't care about either of those things, it can't be either of those things because you won't do it over a long term if it's not your passion. You might do it for like a couple of weeks, but it won't be the same as someone who actually has a passion for it. That would be an unfair disadvantage, I would say, if you don't genuinely care.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll go along to these meetups and, you know, everyone's really nice, so I'm not putting them down. Some people, it is an extension of their work. So there was one guy at the last meetup who is like a personal trainer and he wants to do fitness videos. That's great. Like, you know, that's his job and he wants to start doing videos. But there are some people where they just want to get straight into lifestyle stuff. And then, because you don't really know them, you're just not interested in their lifestyle.
Yeah, they've seen like the Formula One drivers who have people follow them and do lifestyle stuff. And they're like, oh, it gets loads of views. And it's like, yeah, because they're mega celebrities. Yeah,
or it would be like everything Usain Bolt eats in a day. Like, okay, that's interesting. And then they'll do everything I eat in a day. And it's like, well, I'm sure you're very nice, but I don't know who you are. So I'm not going to watch that.
That makes total sense. And given all of that, looking back at your rise to power, what do you think was your unfair advantage?
I've been thinking about this a lot recently. And I think I have a few that are not so obvious. I think everything kind of happened at the right time. So it happened during COVID. And I was still studying and I was sort of teaching part-time. So I didn't have a sort of job holding me back. I could sort of dedicate the time to it. And even after COVID, when I was teaching again, I could again allocate the time. So I had that freedom to put more time into YouTube. Even just like being young and not having like a mortgage to think about. All these little things that just give you that, maybe not, like a bit of a privilege, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Being young, like just having a bit of experience like we do about talking on camera, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't thought about that.
All these things add up and I don't know, I think I just have a bit of... After the after the podcast last week, we were talking about all kinds of more serious topics off camera. I won't share anything because I can see
No, please. I'm very, I'm happy to see you try and phrase it for the wider audience. I'm enjoying the show that's unraveling before me.
And you were sort of, shall we say, exploring some deeper things. Okay, long story short, I came away from that and I thought, actually, I'm not that intelligent. And
yeah, me too, actually. Me too.
I don't know if you genuinely thought that, but I thought a bit of that. And I don't think I don't know, I'm not going to put myself down because I don't think I'm like a complete idiot, but
no, I think your brain is actually really good at storing a lot of information and analysing it and coming up with your own takes. Like sometimes, even on the pod, I sit here and I'm like, oh, I'd never seen it from that angle before. I'm like, okay, let's go. I think that's a very big strength of yours. I don't think you're unintelligent at all. Well, especially not compared to after having a 2-hour conversation with me between like midnight and 2 a.m. Nobody comes away from that feeling unintelligent by comparison, let me tell you.
Well, it's very kind of you to say, but I do think I have the sort of gifts that I have going for me. I think I'm quite self-confident, almost quite blindly. And
I think it goes back to exactly what you were saying about inspiration. Seeing something going, all right, I can do better. Like that's a gene that not everybody has.
Yeah, I think maybe not better, but like I think I can do that. When I see someone do something great, I don't think, isn't it unfair? They can do that and I can't. Now, of course, as we were saying just a minute ago, I do have a lot of privilege in many ways, but I think you still have to kind of act on that and have the confidence to do these kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing that goes unspoken in all of everything, like we ever talk about, I guess, is that we're not like, carers or people who are stuck in like a really hard situation that limits their free time completely. Hence the fact that we run a podcast about creativity on YouTube. Like that's not something you do if you are like caring for a relative or something. I mean, it's self-explanatory, the privilege behind all of it. Yeah,
that's absolutely true. And I do feel that, as I've said before, that is the thing that sticks with me. As the views go up, you get used to them. As the money goes up, you get used to it. But the privilege of doing this and it now sort of being really the only thing I do is such a privilege. And thankfully that doesn't go away. You don't sort of think, I'm getting a bit bored of this now, whatever. It does still feel very special. So,
all right. Can I explain my unfair advantage in the next episode?
Sorry,
to defer.
Sorry, I kind of got off track.
I loved it. I wanted you to talk for longer actually, but I'm just aware of the camera overheating situation, and mine is long. Okay. It was getting me into an anecdote about a video that I'm writing right now that is very long.
Okay, we'll leave it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, all right, we'll do that next time. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and let us know your thoughts about anything that we said today in the comments. And we look very much forward to being in your ears again very soon. That's also another privilege on top of the list of all of the rest of them.
Certainly is. Thanks a lot.